Hop English Podcast
by Speak English with Grace.
Imagine you are standing in a crowded coffee shop on a chilly morning. There is a long, restless line behind you. You look up at the giant menu board. Your eyes dart across the options. Lattes, macchiatos, cappuccinos, flat whites, herbal teas, cold-pressed juices. Suddenly, your chest tightens. Your heart beats faster. A wave of voices floods your mind. If I get the large latte, will it be too much milk? Will it ruin my stomach? But if I get the green tea, will I feel disappointed? Wait, what if I try the seasonal blend? No, that is too risky. Suddenly, your mind just freezes. It feels like a physical wall has dropped inside your skull. You can't move. You can't speak. The barista is staring at you with an expectant smile. The person behind you clears their throat and checks their watch. Tell me honestly, have you ever felt exactly like this? Like your brain is an overloaded computer that stopped working because you have 50 browser tabs open at the same time?
Oh, Mona, you are describing my personal routine every single Tuesday morning. I know that feeling in my bones. It's like being stuck in thick mud. But the twist is that the mud is made entirely of your own spinning thoughts. You want to move forward, but your brain is analyzing the mud instead of moving your feet.
Exactly. It drains your energy before your day properly begins. If you have ever felt this way, take a deep breath right now. Inhale and exhale. You are not broken. You are not alone. Welcome back to the Hop English Podcast. I'm Mona.
And I'm Steven. We are so happy to have you with us today. Grab your favorite drink, find a cozy spot, and let's unlock your mind. Talking about this mental freeze reminds me of an embarrassing situation last night. I sat down on my couch at 8 o'clock, tired after a long day of recording. I just wanted to relax and watch one simple movie on Netflix. So I grabbed the remote and started scrolling through the trending section. Then I scrolled through comedies, then thrillers, then historical documentaries.
Oh no, Steven, I know where this is heading. Please tell me you didn't do what I think you did.
I fell face first into the trap. I kept thinking, this action movie looks entertaining, but what if the plot is too shallow? This drama has great reviews, but what if it makes me too sad before bed? Oh, a sci-fi film, but it is 2.5 hours long and I need to wake up early. I spent 45 minutes scrolling, watching trailers and overanalyzing. 45 minutes! Do you want to guess what happened?
Don't tell me you fell asleep before you press play.
Exactly. By the time I finally decided, my eyes were so heavy and my brain was so exhausted that I turned off the TV, put the remote down, and went straight to sleep. I spent my entire free evening analyzing a choice instead of enjoying the reward.
We are all guilty of that, Steven. It's funny and harmless when it's about Netflix or coffee, but it becomes a massive invisible wall when you are trying to speak a new language, like English. Learners desperately want to say a simple sentence, but before the words leave their mouths, they get completely trapped inside their own minds.
Absolutely. You can see the gears spinning frantically in their eyes. They aren't just thinking about the message. They are running a full diagnostic check. Is this the correct preposition? Should I use in or at? Is this verb present perfect or simple past? How do I pronounce this vowel sound? What if my accent sounds strange? By the time they finish the checklist, the conversation has moved on, or the moment is gone.
And that is exactly what we are here to dismantle and fix today. Welcome to our deep dive episode titled, Listen English to Talk. Don't think too much.
I love that title. It hits the nail on the head. Let's be clear about what this episode is not. This is not a dry grammar lesson where you memorize 50 irregular verbs. This is not a list of cheap exam tricks for passing a test without understanding communication. And it is definitely not a lecture on financial technology, blockchain, or anything like that. We are focused purely on your mind and your English.
Not at all. We have enough dry videos on the internet. Instead, this episode is about the profound art of calming a noisy, chaotic brain. We are going to explore the actual psychology of speech. We will hand you the keys to unlock that brain freeze and start speaking English with natural confidence. Because here's the great paradox. The more you consciously think about your language, the worse you speak it.
It sounds completely backwards, but it's scientific truth. Now, before we dive into the science of the brain, we want to hear from you right now. Yes, this very second.
That's right. Smash that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Then open the comments and type this exact sentence. I am watching Hop English from, insert your beautiful country here, and one real-life situation where I always overthink my English is...
Type it out right now. Don't be shy. By writing it, you force your brain to switch from passive listening to active writing. Plus, Mona and I personally read every single comment every week.
Before we lay out our map, let's set expectations. This lesson is specifically designed for B1 or intermediate English learners.
Let's break that down. If you are A2, please do not feel intimidated. Focus on the main ideas. This is immersion practice for your ears. If you are B2 or C1, please do not skip this. It will help you bridge the gap between knowing advanced vocabulary and letting it flow naturally without anxiety.
To help your brain relax and follow along, here is our complete roadmap for today. Listen for the numbers. First, we will analyze the core problem using an ancient fable about a proud fox and a pragmatic cat. Second, you will discover your cognitive fingerprint, whether you are an internal processor or an external processor.
Third, I will give you 3 science-backed psychological tools to calm your mind in the middle of a live conversation. Fourth, we will explore safe mode environments for stress-free practice. And fifth, we will close with a live, unscripted, no-thinking speaking challenge. That roadmap sounds incredible. Let's start with part 1. What is this brain freeze actually called in psychology?
In cognitive science, it has a beautifully rhythmic name, analysis paralysis.
I love that sound. Analysis paralysis. It sounds like a dance move, but it's a devastating mental trap.
Exactly. Analysis comes from Greek, meaning to unpack and think deeply by breaking things into tiny parts. Paralysis means being completely frozen and unable to move. So analysis paralysis is when you overthink a situation so intensely that your brain locks up and you cannot make a decision or take action. You do nothing because you fear not being perfect.
That maps perfectly onto the old story of the fox and the cat. Can you share that?
I would love to. Thousands of years ago, a very elegant, proud fox was walking through the forest and met a humble little cat. The fox began to boast. He said, "I am so superior to you. I possess 100 sophisticated ways to escape from hunting hounds." The cat looked up with humility and said, "Wow, I only possess one single simple plan. If the hounds come, I climb a tree." Suddenly, the deep sound of barking hounds echoed through the woods. They were sprinting straight toward them. The cat didn't spend a single microsecond overthinking. She immediately put her simple plan into action. She ran straight up the nearest tree and hid safely in the leaves. But the fox stood frozen on the forest floor. He started running a massive internal analysis. He thought, should I use plan A and sprint to the river? Plan B and hide in the thorny bushes? What if the bushes tear my fur? Plan C, dig a hole? What if it collapses? While the proud fox overthought his 100 perfect plans, the hounds caught him.
Oh no! The poor, over-intelligent fox! The moral hits hard. It is infinitely better to have one simple functional plan you can use instantly than to have 100 sophisticated plans you cannot execute under pressure. In English, we say, perfect is the enemy of good. If you refuse to speak until your English is absolutely perfect, you will stand frozen on the forest floor forever.
That is the foundational truth. Now, part 2. To permanently defeat this paralysis, you must first discover your unique cognitive fingerprint. Our brains do not all process information the same way. You are either an internal processor or an external processor. Let's use a kitchen analogy. Listen carefully to the two types. The internal processor, the slow cooker. When information enters their brain, they pull it deep inside, close the lid, and let it simmer quietly. They need silence and time to formulate a complete, flawless answer before speaking. They value deep reflection and order. The external processor, the professional chef. They speak in order to think. They use conversation to organize their thoughts. They taste everything aloud as they go. They thrive on bouncing ideas off other people and talking through half-baked concepts.
That explains so many confusing interactions in my life. My friend goes completely quiet during conversations. I used to think she was bored or upset, but she's just a slow cooker. She is simmering the ingredients of our conversation. If I keep talking like a crazy chef, I ruin her process.
Exactly. If you discover you are an internal processor, you might feel insecure and think, I am too slow at English. But you need to reframe that thought. You are not slow. You are simmering. Use this tool phrase. Repeat after me in your head. That is a fascinating question. Can you please give me a brief moment to gather my thoughts?
Let's practice that phrase together. Listeners, say this along with me. Can you please give me just a brief moment to think?
Beautiful. If you discover you are an external processor, you might feel you talk too fast and make too many mistakes. But that is how your unique brain is wired. You are using speech to forge a path toward your answer. Both styles are beautiful strengths.
But what happens when our normal thinking turns toxic? What do we do when our brain plays mean tricks on us mid-conversation?
Those are cognitive distortions, irrational, biased mind tricks. One of the most destructive for language learners is a negative prediction. Your brain creates an imaginary guess about the future, assumes it is an absolute fact, and fills you with anxiety based on something that hasn't happened yet.
I know that monster. It whispers, if you speak English at this party, everyone will turn around and laugh at your accent. Or if you forget one word in your presentation, your boss will think you were incompetent.
Exactly. Your brain is acting like a terrible fortune teller. But we have a tool called tracking your thoughts. For 1 week, write down every negative prediction about your English. At the end of the week, write what actually happened.
I would bet that 99% of the time, the bad thing never happens.
Statistically, almost never. Also, ask yourself 3 questions. Listen to the numbers. First, what is the absolute worst thing that could realistically happen? Second, what is the absolute best thing that could happen? Third, what is the most realistic, grounded thing that will happen?
Let's test it. Worst case, I forget all English, trip on the cable, fall on my face, and everyone laughs. Best case, I deliver the speech like Shakespeare, get a standing ovation, and am promoted to CEO. Realistic case, I feel nervous, my hands shake a little, I forget 1 or 2 words, but I use simpler words, and people understand 85% of my message. Life goes on normally.
See? The moment you map out the realistic option, the terrifying fear in your brain loses its power. It is no longer a monster. It is just a manageable human event.
That's a game-changing tool. Now, what's the secret you mentioned earlier?
The scientific secret is this. The physical act of speaking your thoughts out loud to yourself makes you measurably smarter and optimizes your brain performance.
Wait,
Even if I am completely alone in my house, talking to myself like a crazy person?
Especially then. For decades, society taught us that talking to yourself is a sign of weakness, but modern neuroscience has flipped that myth. Research shows that when you speak your thoughts aloud during a difficult task, you achieve higher accuracy, faster processing, and superior problem solving compared to silent thought.
Why does that happen?
When you think silently, your brain uses a small, isolated portion of its capacity. But the millisecond you speak aloud, a neurological fireworks show occurs. First, your motor cortex coordinates your jaw, tongue, and breath. Second, your auditory centers decode the sound waves. Third, your somatosensory cortex feels the vibrations in your skull and chest. Speaking aloud transforms a passive thought into a massive, multisensory, whole brain workout.
That is richer encoding. Your brain isn't holding on to a ghost of an idea. It is building multiple distinct physical pathways to anchor that information into permanent memory.
Exactly. In cognitive psychology, this is the production effect. Studies rigorously prove that if you read a word or sentence out loud, you are 15% more likely to remember it than if you read it in silence.
15%? That is a massive free cognitive upgrade. Please, next time you study, do not sit there like a silent statue. Speak. Talk to your dog, talk to your cat, talk to your houseplants, talk to your coffee.
I talk to my coffee every morning. I say, "Good morning, coffee. You are a beautiful miracle." But seriously, this is called private speech. Young children do it constantly. They say, "Okay, now the red block goes here, then the blue car drives over the bridge." They aren't crazy. They are using private speech as an external cognitive tool to guide their behavior and solve problems in real time.
I do this at work when I'm overwhelmed. I whisper to myself in an empty room. Okay, Stephen, take a breath. First, archive this file. Second, draft that email to Mona. Third, close this window. I thought it was a strange habit, but it works instantly.
It works because you are using an external working memory. Your brain's internal short-term memory is very small. By speaking aloud, you offload that heavy information out of your skull and store it temporarily in the air around you. This frees up massive amounts of clean processing power inside your brain to actually solve the problem. It is the psychological equivalent of clearing messy paperwork off your desk.
What about naming difficult emotions?
That is affect labeling. If you were sitting in a waiting room before a high-stakes English job interview, your heart is hammering, your palms are sweating, and your mind is freezing. The natural instinct is to fight that feeling, but suppression makes stress hormones skyrocket. Instead, go to the bathroom, look in the mirror, and say out loud, "I am feeling a massive amount of fear and anxiety right now."
What happens inside the brain?
The moment you put a vocal label on the emotion, activity in your amygdala, the primitive fear center, instantly drops. At the same time, activity increases in your prefrontal cortex, the calm, rational control center. You literally transfer the steering wheel of your mind away from a panicked monster and hand it to a calm captain.
So you don't have to solve the problem. You just have to name it aloud. I am feeling frustrated. I am feeling confused. And boom, your brain chemistry shifts.
Exactly. For an advanced version, use third-person self-talk. Instead of saying, "I am failing," say, "Stephen is feeling overwhelmed right now, but he is learning and trying his best." This creates psychological distance. You step outside your own body and become a kind, objective coach watching from the sidelines. It allows you to be compassionate and less self-critical.
This science is fascinating, but actually trying these tools for the first time in front of native speakers or in a corporate meeting is terrifying. Where can we practice in a low-stakes environment? We need a safe mode for language practice.
You are 99% correct.
You can't expect an athlete to perform flawlessly in the Olympic finals without practicing in a quiet gym first. Here are 3 safe mode environments. Listen for the numbers. Number 1, kitchen solitude. Use private speech while cooking or cleaning. No one is judging you. Say aloud, "Now I am chopping these red tomatoes. The knife is sharp. Now I am turning on the stove. The water is beginning to boil." This trains your brain to map physical reality onto English words without audience pressure. Number 2, 30-second voice notes. Find one trusted friend or language partner. Agree not to send long text messages. Instead, send each other short 30-second audio voice notes in English. If you mess up a word or your grammar slips, it doesn't matter at all. There was no live pressure and no awkward silence. Number 3, the mirror challenge. Lock your bathroom door, stand in front of the mirror, and look yourself in the eyes. Set a timer for 60 seconds. Talk out loud to your reflection about any topic. Your dreams, your daily goals, how your day went. This breaks the psychological fear of looking at a human face while speaking a foreign language.
So, the ultimate transformation is shifting from a stiff, hypercritical public speaking persona, that heavy mask we wear because we fear mistakes, and choosing pure presence.
Yes, 1,000 times yes. True human connection never happens through a perfect mask. Presence means your mind is fully anchored right here, right now, in this exact micro moment. You aren't stuck in the past, crying over a grammar mistake you made 2 sentences ago. You aren't floating into the future, panicking about what word to say next. You are right here. When you are fully present, your conscious mind steps out of the way, and your brain operates on instinct. It is exactly like driving a car. If you had to consciously analyze every millimeter your foot moves on the gas pedal, you would crash into a wall. You have to quiet your analytical mind and trust your body to flow.
And when you trust your body to flow, that's when the magic happens. That's when an English word you haven't used in years suddenly pops into your head out of nowhere.
That is your heart helping your brain. When you speak from the heart, you share your authentic human truth. Your audience doesn't want a perfect, cold, grammatical robot. They want a real, breathing, vulnerable human being.
Well then, let's put this to the test. Let's move to part 5 of our roadmap. Give me a random topic. No thinking aloud. I will not pause for a single second to analyze.
I love this. Your random topic is your absolute favorite, most vivid childhood memory. No thinking, go.
Sitting in the open back of my grandfather's rusted old blue pickup truck. I must have been around 7 years old. We were driving down a bumpy dirt road to a secret fishing lake. The warm summer wind was crashing into my face, and the air smelled intensely like wild pine trees, wet dirt, and old leather seats. He had this massive, deep, booming laugh that sounded like a bass drum echoing through the woods. We sat by that water for 6 hours and didn't catch a single fish. But it was the greatest day of my life because he bought me a giant double-scoop chocolate ice cream cone at a gas station on the way home. It melted all over my hands and dripped down my favorite shirt. But I didn't care at all because in that exact moment, I felt completely, utterly free.
Oh, Stephen, that was absolutely beautiful. I have chills on my arms. And notice, you did not pause for a single microsecond to analyze grammar rules or check sentence structures.
You're right. The moment you said go, I didn't see grammar rules. I literally saw the blue pickup truck in my mind's eye, and I just started describing the picture as fast as I could. I completely forgot I was performing on a podcast.
That is the ultimate power of visualizing and speaking. You were not trapped in your analytical head. You were
physically sitting in the back of that truck with your grandfather. You brought us into the memory with you.
Did you notice I made a few tiny grammatical errors and word slips during that challenge? But let me ask you honestly, did those tiny mistakes matter at all? Absolutely not. You could see the blue truck, couldn't you? You could taste the melting chocolate ice cream. That is what real communication is. That is connection.
That was a masterclass in presence, Stephen. Now, let's slow down and review 7 key cognitive terms from today.
Let's slow down and review them one by one.
Let's start with the big one, analysis paralysis.
Right. Overthinking a situation so intensely that your mind freezes and you cannot act.
Example, I stood in front of the clothing display for 20 minutes with total analysis paralysis because I could not choose between the blue shirt and the black shirt.
Another word we used is internal processor.
Internal processor means a person who prefers to analyze information quietly inside their own mind before speaking.
Example, my business manager is an internal processor. She never speaks during meetings, but she emails us a flawless solution the next morning.
Then we talked about external processor.
External processor means a person who needs to talk out loud in order to organize and understand their own thoughts.
Example, as an external processor, I really need to talk through this new project with you out loud before I know my next steps.
Another useful phrase is cognitive distortion.
Means an irrational, exaggerated, or biased way of thinking that does not align with reality.
Example, believing that your entire life is ruined just because you made one tiny mistake on a test is a very common cognitive distortion. Another word we used is affect labeling.
Means the practice of explicitly naming a difficult emotion out loud to reduce its intensity.
Example, I told my colleague, I am feeling highly stressed right now. And the moment I said that, my brain instantly relaxed.
We also used word psychological distance.
Yes, it means separating yourself from your immediate emotional state by speaking objectively, often in the third person.
Example, using third-person self-talk helped me gain psychological distance and stay perfectly calm during the emergency.
The last word is private speech.
It means spoken language used for communication with oneself to guide thinking and self-regulation.
Example, the engineer used private speech. He whispered the structural blueprints out loud while building the complex machine.
You did absolutely incredibly well today. I am so proud of everyone who invested their time to sit with us through this masterclass. Your concrete action plan for the week is beautifully simple. Listen to the 3 steps. First, commit to talking out loud to yourself in safe mode for just 5 minutes every single day. Second, use affect labeling to name your feelings aloud whenever you feel a mental freeze coming on. Third, repeat our golden rule like a daily mantra. Good enough is great.
And please do not forget to check back on your comments from earlier to see if your negative predictions actually came true in reality. If you found this episode transformative, please hit that like button, subscribe, and share this episode right now with an overthinking friend who needs a mindset reset on their English journey.
I'm Mona.
And I'm Steven.
Stop overthinking. Start talking and let your heart lead the way. Click the next video appearing on your screen right now to join us for our upcoming masterclass on unlocking effortless daily vocabulary. We will see you right over there.